days now, back in the shop to work some more on this Nutcracker. I've got the top of the body, the head section mounted up here in the lathe between centers. Honestly, I've never turned anything of this diameter before, so I'm going to take it a little slow. It does fit, it clears, spins freely. If we turn it on, we're good. I've got the lathe down as slow as it'll go, just until we at least get this guy round and see how that works out for us. It's quite a bit to take off this first pass just to get it round. Sharpened up my largest spindle roughing gouge. It's not very big, but it should be adequate. So get my face shield on and see how this goes. This is going to be quite an endeavor, huh? Let's have a look. Well, it's coming along nicely. Seem to only be catching the outside edges at first, which is to be expected. We're still, well, we're close to catching that guy. He's going to be, that center, we'll catch that center pretty soon. You can see that from the angle. If we're touching there, we're only an eighth of an inch or so before we catch that centerpiece. So I don't have a whole lot of clearance for the banjo, so I can't really go much farther down. Let's see if we can maybe slide down a little bit now and still clear the banjo down here. Try to rough. Let's see, there I'm hitting the banjo, so let's move it over a little bit. Let's see what we get. Tighten it up. Okay, we are not really clearing by much. I think I want to go back out here and take this down a little farther. So I'm going to keep working on this, and I'll bring you guys back for an update in a minute. Alright, here we go. It's the head, top of the body, around now. I've increased the lathe speed. I'm now on the second belt, second set of drive pulleys. Any faster than that's just incredibly too fast. This thing has got, it's a 6-inch diameter. This outer portion is running pretty darn fast when we're spinning, so the whole lathe gets a little shaky. So we're gonna run with it where it's at. I face the edges, first pass anyway, and facing the edges so that they're flat. Certainly not a nice edge yet. It's time to start laying out the sections. So I've got my guide over here. Like I said, this is the top. This half ends right there at the bottom of the head, and I'll put a mortise on the bottom there for fitting into the bottom of the body. Let's have a look. Made quite a little pile of shavings. I've also roughed out the lower half of the body, taken off a major chunk of what we've got. When I put this guy back on the lathe, we'll be able to run it at a higher speed, and it'll make a little cleaner cut. Running that really low speed makes it all, I don't know if you can see that, it makes it really groovy. Almost like we're threading the piece. It's kind of rough. So that's where we are. I'm going to get set up here to actually mark this guy out, and maybe I'll put you on the tripod for that. So I got a little nicer edge down here. I think I'm going to try to use that for the top edge. I've also got more space to work down here. The live center is a little bit smaller, and the tailstock is smaller than the headstock, so I think I'm going to make this the top of the head, and then work my way down this way and cut the tenon out of this edge, this end down here, and then we'll have some piece of scrap over here. This edge is not quite as nice. Like I said, I'm going to bore a hole here at the top, so I'll use this live center as kind of the guide, the live center point as a guide for where to bore that hole. We'll get the hole bored there for that little finial that we're going to put at the top. We'll make that out of another piece, maybe a little piece of walnut or something that looks nice. And then when we cut this piece off down here, cut the tenon, we'll cut down quite a ways and then finish with a hand saw, and that will eliminate the drive center at the bottom. So we want to make sure that we get all the turning done we want to do before we actually cut that off, because once we lose this drive center, we'll have to re-center the piece, and we might get out of center and a little out of whack. So let's start. We've got 13/16. Let's see, so that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13/16s. And then we've got 3.5 inches. So 2, 3.5 inches is his hat. 3.5 from there. Alright, I'll get the rest of the hat is 15/16s. So there. 15/16s. After 15, we got 5 inches now for the head. 3, 4, 5 inches for the head. Alright, and that's the bottom of it. Now we've got a piece, I think maybe an inch would be more than enough. Might be too much actually. Maybe we want to go like 3/4 of an inch. We'll go an inch for now. I suppose we can always decide to cut it shorter later if we think it's necessary. So, don't know if you can see that. That's our layout. We've got, bring the camera over in front so we can have a look at that. Alright, so this piece there is the top of the hat that curves up, main body of the hat. This is the brim of the hat that comes, it makes like a little round off piece that kind of is the brim of the hat, and then it sinks in for the head, which is between here, the main face, and then the bottom of the face we will cut the tenon to go into the bottom part of the body. And I've left an inch for that tenon, probably too much. Maybe we'll go like 3/4 of an inch, and then you can see we get a little bit of scrap down here that we can just lop off and let that drive. And that's my plan. I hope this is gonna go well. Next thing I gotta do is get my calipers out and start setting the rough depths of all of these various spots. Need to mark the center of the face, because that's kind of a really big bead right here, and he's 5.5 inches. We should be about 6 inches right now, so we probably got to measure where we're at and see. So that's next. We'll be right back. Update on the turning project. Still making the Nutcracker. Had good success this morning. I struggled with the mortise slot quite a bit. I am not good at hollowing out. I do not have a large enough chuck to hold this ginormous piece here and actually cut this mortise slot out. So I ended up cutting it more by hand, drilling it, chipping it out and everything, but it's done. The body's fits very well together. Turnings were good. My problem was cutting that slot out. I still have the hole there. That's a good center. I'm going to bore out a hole for the finial on top. That's more to come. So aside from making a giant pile of wood chips that I've just spent a few minutes cleaning up, I got the body accomplished, got the body completed, so that's good. Next step is to work on the legs. I need to square off one of the blanks, and I can then get turning the legs. That's next. Well, I didn't get very far into setup on the first leg when I noticed that I've got a bit of a problem here. The leg is just a skosh too long, and it's past the center point here of the tailstock. I don't feel comfortable trying to turn like this, so I've taken the other one and lopped a little bit off of it here. If we line that up, I've taken about an inch or so off, and we'll see how this works. This is still plenty long to accomplish what we need. I just want to have quite as long of a tenon on the bottom, to go into the body, but it'll be safer. So I'm going to mark centers on this and see how this guy works, the shorter one, and if he works out, then I'll cut the other one to length and we'll make the legs just go shorter. Well, I'm pretty much done for today. I've been down in the basement all day turning, get some chips in my beard there. A lot of work done today. I made another huge pile of wood chips on the floor. The lathe's filthy again. I gotta clean that up. But I made a good go with this guy. So we got the body is done, except for the hole at the top for the finial and the hole at the bottom for the legs. I got both legs done. Save that I need to cut the hole for the legs to go in, and then do some final fitting. Trim the legs sockets up, mortises up to fit the sockets there. I haven't touched the arms yet. I also haven't dealt with the actual Nutcracker in here, but he's getting there. That was quite a lot of work today. Glad to have it accomplished. So it's looking good. Need to think about what's next after it's assembled. I look towards maybe some paint, color, figure out what to do with the next. But glad to be making some headway on this and looking to get some more work done next time I get some shop time.